and welcome to the Positive People Podcast.
The only podcast where we are
down with the sickness.
And today, we are positive with the human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV.
Ooh, sounds great. So be sure to stick around, because we have an amazing one for you tonight. And we might even have a special guest.
I'm Crichton.
And I'm Cole.
So let's get right into it.
You have AIDS.
Yes, you have AIDS.
I hate to tell you, boy, that you have AIDS.
You got the AIDS.
You may have caught it when you stuck that filthy needle in here.
Or maybe all that unprotected sex put you here.
It isn't clear, but what we're certain of is you have AIDS.
Yes, you have AIDS.
You know, Cole, I've heard some interesting stories about how HIV came about. Obviously, we know HIV originated from the simian immunodeficiency virus and spilled over from apes into humans. How exactly it spilled over into our population, though, I've heard things from a person having intercourse with a monkey, to the government making it in a lab, to it came from outer space.
Well, usually it's believed that it was transferred to us when someone was exsanguinating a monkey carcass and got some of its blood into an open wound.
Well, that makes a lot more sense, because I would think that if someone tried to defile a monkey, certain appendages might be severed.
You're not wrong.
So, are you able to give me just a basic overview, just a tiny little one, a tiny little overview of the life cycle of the virus?
Yeah. So basically, the virus, once it's in your system, targets CD4 plus helper T cells, which is a type of white blood cell, so they play an important part in your immune system by fighting infections and whatnot. HIV needs those cells to reproduce itself, so it hijacks and manipulates the reproductive bits of the cell. What's interesting about that, though, is how the virus actually does it. It is actually a retrovirus, meaning its genetic code is made up of RNA.
RNA, not DNA?
No. So before it inserts its genetic material into the genome of the cell, it has to make a DNA copy of the RNA in the cytoplasm of the host cell. Once it does that, though, it is able to go into the lysogenic cycle. But you know something, Crichton.
What's that?
Once it eventually switches back to the lytic cycle, instead of making the cell lyse, a new HIV virus buds out, which leaves the host cell intact.
So the cell can be used to make multiple generations of the virus?
Well, in the act of budding, the virus uses some of the cell membrane to make a new envelope, which, after a while, will kill the cell. That is if the cell doesn't go into pyroptosis or apoptosis, both of which end with the cell forcing itself to lyse.
Yeah, that's when the cell kamikazes, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. T cells, after a while, will make a trip back to your lymph nodes, which is kind of like the war room for your immune system. And there, they are exposed to whatever pathogens might be residing in the body that the immune system needs to deal with. The issue is, though, that if one of the infected T cells makes its way to the lymph nodes, where a lot of other T cells are residing, and decides to go into pyroptosis, there it can act almost like a bomb and kill a lot more T cells. In fact, a majority of T cells that are killed by HIV aren't even infected.
Wow. You know what that kind of reminds me of?
What?
On Independence Day, like the end of it, when we give those alien ships a computer virus and stuff.
I guess.
Also, here's another question. When exactly does HIV become acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS?
That's usually considered when what we call opportunistic infections start to take place, which are pretty much an infection that happens with more severity or with quicker succession due to having a poor immune system.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. What about the pathogenesis of HIV? I know you've already given me some information already on it, but can you elaborate a little more?
Yeah, so it's usually either transferred through blood or mucous membrane.
Your junk?
Yes, but also your anus, your eyes, or your mouth.
My eyes. So, if I'm getting a little romantic, little touchy-feely with an HIV positive person, I should avoid getting their bodily fluids in my eyes. My eyeballs?
Well, I would generally say avoiding intercourse with an HIV positive person would be your best bet, but I guess so.
You know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
You know when Do you know the scene in 28 Days Later when that zombie blood falls into that dude's eye and he turns into a zombie?
Well, that's actually not a bad metaphor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Once it's in your system, though, the infection has a few distinct phases. First, you have the primary HIV infection, or PHI for short, which is basically when the virus reproduces like rabbits and populates your bloodstream, killing a lot of the CD4 plus cells. The PHI phase is usually asymptomatic, but some have reported having a rash or fever. Your body is able to respond, though, and kills off a lot of the virus, but not all of it, which corresponds with a rise in CD4 plus cells, though levels never reach what they were before you were infected initially. Then you have the chronic asymptomatic stage, which is when the CD4 counts decline slowly. That stage can last a decade or more, especially if the person goes through antiretroviral therapy, or ART for short. Then comes late stage infections, where there's another extreme drop in CD4 cells, and that's when AIDS sets in.
Very interesting. But now it's my turn to show that I'm not a lazy bum and that I actually did some research.
You're just a scrub.
No.
A scrub is a guy that thinks he's fly and is also known as a buster.
What?
Never mind. Somebody will get that reference and they'll appreciate it. Anyway, let's talk about HIV's societal impact. Obviously, we know that the AIDS crisis played a major part in the world's perception of homosexuals. In the 80s, when a lot of this came to public attention, it was perceived by a significant portion of the American population to be God's punishment for the iniquities of gays and lesbians, which, while that's poor theology, that attitude definitely permeated throughout, especially when it became known that the disease wasn't just confined to that community. A lot of gays at the time were treated almost like lepers. I saw in one of the articles that even some healthcare workers would refuse to tend after gay men. At the time, there was still a lot of mystery around how HIV was spread. A lot of people thought that you could get it through general contact or through the air, which I kind of understand. I mean, when COVID first hit, me and my family were washing off bananas and stuff that we got from the store. But it's a shame that a portion of the population had to be treated like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to say, I'm surprised you didn't throw a reference to Philadelphia in there.
I haven't actually seen that movie.
There's a movie you haven't seen? I thought you were like the database for movies.
Ha, ha, ha. Also, something else I found interesting while I was researching. Did you come across anything about how circumcision can help mitigate a man's chance of getting HIV?
I saw something about that, but I didn't read too far into it.
Well, apparently, being circumcised reduces your chances of getting it by about 58%. So there are actually uncircumcised adult men getting their foreskin removed for protection against HIV.
Ugh.
My thoughts exactly. I mean, if you didn't get that operation done as a baby, how could you even consider getting it done as an adult? I mean, condoms can provide a lot better protection against HIV than that. I mean, it's like, are you that committed to not wearing contraception that you are willing to cut off bits of your own flesh? Like, de-tarp yourself?
Maybe they do both.
Still, I would say your best bet would be to not have intercourse with someone who has HIV anyway.
Well, duh.
Anyway, moving on. Cole, what is the current state of HIV?
I can see your segment is done.
How dare you ruin my seamless transition? But yes, it is done.
Well, we've actually come a long way. Antiretroviral therapy has allowed a lot of people to be able to live quote unquote healthy and productive lives, while also reducing the risk of passing HIV on to their partner or from mother to child quite significantly.
That's why Magic Johnson has been able to live so long after he got it, right?
Yeah. As of now, the life expectancy of someone who has HIV is pretty similar to that of someone who hasn't been infected.
Does a person's nutrition have a part to play in that?
Thanks for the alley-oop. Like most diseases, keeping fit helps diminish the impact of the disease. Keeping fit can also help your immune system's chances against tuberculosis and HCV, which HIV-positive people are more susceptible to the effects of.
How exactly are HIV positive people more susceptible to the effects of HCV?
HCV can act as an opportunistic infection, capitalizing on low counts of CD4 cells if the HIV infection is not taken care of, and can lead to rapid fibrosis progression to cirrhosis. Tuberculosis also acts as an opportunistic infection. In fact, HIV is the strongest known risk factor for developing TB diseases from a TB infection. And tuberculosis disease found in someone co-infected with HIV is usually grounds for diagnosing AIDS. Antiretroviral therapy and good fitness should help in reducing that, though, as I previously mentioned.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we're now in a day and age where we can prolong the disease's progression to a state where those infected don't have to worry too much about their HIV being fatal.
Yes, and also that they are treated like human beings and not outcasts.
Yeah, but now that brings us to the moment everyone has been waiting for, our special guest.
Who is it?
Well, we'll find out right after we tell you about our sponsor. Just kidding, but this is where I put an ad read.
If I had one!
Come on, stop stalling. Who is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of Major League, Wall Street, and Silence of the Heart. He also played a minor role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Mr. Charlie Sheen.
Silence of the Heart?
Hey, Charlie, please take a seat. How are you?
Duh. Winning.
Oh, that's great. We are so happy to have you on our show. We always love to try and interview someone who has had first-hand experience with whatever illness we're discussing each episode, especially when they're,
The face of HIV and AIDS.
I was going to say B-list actors, but whatever. What made you want to come on this show?
I was invited to come and do this, and I thought, what better place to come and engage in some FaceTime and tell people exactly, what's really going on.
Well, I don't know how much FaceTime you'll be able to engage in, seeing as we don't have any cameras, but please tell me.
I blinked and I cured my brain.
What? So you're cured of HIV?
I get tiger blood, man.
What?
Tiger blood that is or isn't HIV positive.
Don't you use antiretroviral medicinals?
Medicine, make me like them, not gonna happen.
When was the last time you used your drugs?
I use a blender, I use a vacuum cleaner, I use, household items. When was the last time I ingested or took drugs?
When is the last time you took your medicine?
The last time I took drugs, I probably took more than anybody could survive.
So you aren't using them now?
Yeah, I am on a drug. It's called Charlie Sheen.
I'm pretty sure that's not FDA approved.
It's not available because if you try it once, you will die. Your face will melt off and your children will weep over your exploded body.
Is your doctor aware of this?
I have no interest in their retarded opinions. I really don't,
Aren't you afraid of possibly dying from your illness?
Dying's for fools.
Okay, I think that's enough of that. Let's move on. I gotta ask you, Charlie, because me and some of our production guys have a bet going. Where exactly do you think you got HIV?
Droopy-eyed, armless children.
What? That's disgusting.
They're the best at what they do, and I'm the best at what I do, and together it's on. Well, licking my feet.
Oh my God.
I gotta say, Charlie, I had my money on you getting it from one of the 5,000 women you claim to have slept with, and the guys, they had it on a shared syringe, knowing your struggle with illegal substances in the past, but I would have never imagined that you would have delved into...
Whatever, it's just a joke. People take everything so literally. How about I tell them I'm a high priest, Vatican assassin warlock. I'm Hitvar, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
Don't you think that joke is a little inappropriate?
Inappropriate or radically appropriate?
If you're not taking your medicine, I simply have to wonder, are you having intercourse?
Violent love.
Surely you must wear protection.
No.
And don't call me Shirley.
Why not?
Because I'm not going to, period, the end.
You could potentially expose someone else to HIV.
I expose people to magic. I expose them to something they're never otherwise going to see in their boring, normal lives. And I gave that to them. I may forget about them tomorrow, but they'll live with that memory for the rest of their lives. And that's a gift, man.
Wow, I didn't think I'd have to change the conversation again. But okay. Charlie, we talked earlier on the show about how there are some conspiracy theories about the origins of HIV. Where do you think HIV came from?
I don't know, maybe not from this particular terrestrial realm.
That's an interesting one for sure.
Are you on any sort of fitness regimen or diet to help with your illness?
Yes, I drink water through my arms.
I'm not exactly sure how that one works, but is there anything else you do?
I was banging 7-gram rocks and finishing them because that's how I roll.
Well, Charlie, that brings us to the end of our interview. Is there any final words you'd like to say to the people before you leave?
They're trying to destroy my family. And so I take great umbrage with that. And defeat is not an option. They picked a fight with a warlock.
Okay, I gotta say, Charlie, it almost sounds like you're not here in person and we just cut up clips of you to add in post.
What?
The gibberish of fools.
I'm going to have to ask you to leave. All right, bye-bye.
Well, that was something for sure.
I know, he is a straight lunatic. But that lunatic brings us to the end of our podcast. If you enjoyed it and would like to stay updated on more videos every once in a blue moon, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that little ringy-dingy bell icon. And now, it's time for Cole's lesson of the day.
Remember, kids, don't trust Charlie Sheen. He'll expose you to magic and not the good kind of magic.
And now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Okay, that's enough. Get out of here. Here it goes, people. Listen to this. This is really funny. Get out of here. Going back in his hole, just the same way he came out. Do we get paid for this?
Yes.
I want to know.
Yes, of course.
We do? Okay, okay.
Yes.
All right.
You're welcome.